Hello everyone, and welcome back to more Fate Grand Order. I've got a little bit more recording time today, and I cannot yet move on with the event story. So, let's get back to Lost Belt 4, shall we? Did we make it? Good grief. Talk about escaping by the skin of one's teeth. We may have paid a heavy price, but at least we managed to protect what we absolutely needed to. Krta. Even wearing nigh indestructible armor imbued with the sun god's power, there's only so much one can do when the very world crumbles away. Truth be told, I'm impressed he lasted as long as he did. That was a feat akin to holding back all the waters of the ocean, or catching a falling star with one's bare hands. There are few heroes in all of history who could have withstood a cataclysm like that, even for just a few seconds. For us, those few seconds were truly the difference between life and death. Krta, hero of benefaction, I salute your strength and devotion. You have my eternal thanks. First Naja, now Krta. We've barely just gotten here, and we've already lost 2 of our servants. As cold-hearted as this may sound, we can't move on if we keep our focus on the past. Let's go over what we've gained as well.
Yes, I know. You're right. Go ahead, Holmes.
That wave of light we observed just before we dived contained a truly unbelievable amount of magical energy. More than enough to convince me it was capable of destroying this entire Lost Belt. If I hadn't already seen it with my own eyes. No one hero should ever be able to wield power of that scale. But given that he clearly can, there must be a reason for that. We've even heard a few hints towards his nature already. The final god. Every Indian divinity rolled into one. So now, I think we'd best hear more about him from someone I believe is uniquely qualified to answer. Let me come right to the point. What is he?
Okay, now seems like as good a time as any for a bit of a chat. Plus, now that you've shown me what the reverse side of the world looks like, it's only fair that I reciprocate, no?
I don't know if this part is Pepe talking or not. I'm going to assume it is.
The rift between worlds, the inside of nothingness, the gap between heaven and earth, the space outside the universe. Here, where a single moment spans an eternity, only he and the few beings he acknowledges are able to exist.
Storage records. Organization complete. Commencing reconstruction. You!
I don't know what they sound like, actually. I don't know who voices them. I would assume it's a very deep voice.
Delightful.
Well, not very, very deep, but like, deeper than my comfortable range.
What a delightful way of molding the world as you see fit. I don't think I'll ever get tired of watching it.
It's so unilateral, so transcendent, and above all, so violently correct. Ah, what a blessing it is to witness it so closely.
If you say so. Personally, I think it's just plain boring.
He even had the perfect chance to get rid of the Chaldea clowns, and he let them get away. What was he thinking? Unnecessary defects deleted. Continuing logic absorption and conceptual repairs. Oh, my. You really should be more careful, You're lucky he seems not to have heard you this time. If he decides we're defective and unnecessary too, we won't be able to escape the recreation process either. He's a god, after all. He gets to make those sorts of judgments. Right now, the Chaldeans are little more than pests to be cleaned up along with the rest of the trash. If he did decide that Cursor and his little gang were truly unnecessary, he would send one of his Lokapala to handle them. It is not our place to say anything, let alone do so impertinently. No, all we need do is stand back and merely spectate as he recreates this world into his own perfect little sandcastle. It may be wrong to draw out plans and create molds when it comes to making sandcastles, but as they say, if this is wrong, I don't want to be right. Why doesn't anyone else try their hand at it? The more we repeat the process, the closer we'll get to making the perfect plans and mold. At the rate we're going now, why, I expect it won't be long at all before we get there. Yes, I suppose the sand we're using may get worn and tattered the more we destroy and rebuild. But that is a small price to pay to bring such a grand project to its completion, don't you think? So of course, we will keep going. The foreign god's disciples consist of 3 alter egos. But this monk is one to be especially wary of. Part of it is that he's very much rotten to the core. But it also couldn't be more obvious that in the end, he's going to cast off the few inhibitions he has, wreck everything in his path, and move on to do it all over again somewhere else. What's with that look? Are you saying I only dislike him because he reminds me of myself? I'm a patient woman, but even I can only take being lumped in with something like that for so long. Why don't you open your mouth and actually say something for once? Or is your job really just observing and nothing else? Well, I guess you didn't need to say anything there. Your actions couldn't have said, I can already see where this is going louder than if you brought a megaphone. Alright, I'll just make do with the modest gains in this lost belt and focus on finding out what that monk is up to. After all, I certainly don't want him getting in the way of my own future plans. Final value allotments confirmed. Entering. Executing. Thus, the world is reborn. Its cycle begins anew. Unknown number. Yuga cycle. Inception. So, I'm sure you've all at least figured out this much, but that Arjuna is the core of this Indian lost belt. He's the reason this world became part of the pruning theoretical phenomenon. Let's see. To tie it to Holmesy's earlier question. Holmesy? This world was pruned away because in it, he gained the power you've just witnessed. What happened exactly? Just so you know, this is almost all speculation on my part, okay? There's no one around who can prove what really happened. Anyway, I don't know exactly when he got all that power, or when this world became estranged from proper human history. All I know is that it was a long time ago, but I can make an educated guess. It was probably during the Mahabharata. Something happened right around when the war it depicts came to an end. Something that led to Arjuna acquiring every divinity in India. Right, you mentioned that earlier. Then, it's really true?
It would certainly make a kind of paradoxical sense, given what we've seen thus far. A feat as extraordinary as remaking the entire world simply wouldn't be possible without an equally extraordinary background. But that still doesn't explain how it happened.
This is also just speculation, but I think he probably acquired the divinities in phases. In the most plausible explanation I can think of, he probably started by acquiring Vishnu's power, since his closest friend, Krishna, was one of Vishnu's avatars. What's more, Krishna was said to have one of the strongest connections to Vishnu of all his avatars. Not that I'm saying you're weak, of course, Rami.
I am perfectly able to understand the point you are making. Never mind the placations, just keep going.
You got it, hun. So, if Arjuna somehow got Vishnu's divinity from Krishna, peacefully or otherwise, it stands to reason that it could have laid the groundwork to do the same with the other divinities. Vishnu is one of the most powerful gods in all of Indian mythology, after all. I expect he went around hungrily unifying all the other Indian gods in this Lost Belt one by one after that. Indra, even Shiva and Brahma were no exception. So once he'd absorbed all their divinities, he became what he is now. An Arjuna with divine power over death and creation, ruler of this Lost Belt and capable of destroying and rebuilding everything alike. No, you can't even call him Arjuna anymore. He may have started as Arjuna, but he's something else altogether now. That's why he no longer has a shred of the heroic Arjuna's personality. You saw that for yourselves, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
Yes, he seemed disconnected, mechanical. I'm not sure how best to describe it, but it did seem very clear that we won't be able to reason with him.
Technically, this world would not be the first such entity we've met. If you'll think back to Scandinavia, Sitonai was an amalgamation of 3 divine spirits. But Arjuna would seem to be on another scale altogether. So much so it's hard to believe they're in the same category. At this point, it is all too plausible to accept that he is neither human nor servant, but an entirely new divine conceptual being. Truth be told, I'm surprised he's even able to maintain his form. All right, so we know what his deal is. Now what about you? What's your game here, Krta?
Me? Why, isn't it obvious?
The only thing that's obvious about you is that your face practically screams, "Don't trust me."
Well, I never. I'll have you know I was just trying to keep my embarrassment from showing. But, all right, if you need me to explain, I can do that. After becoming a Krta, I summoned Ashvathaman to be my servant. After I was assigned this Indian Lost Belt, the first thing I did was make contact with its king, Arjuna. Once I learned he was basically a god, I spent my first few months here trying to control him as much as I could. But after that foreign god disciple showed up, Arjuna suddenly started behaving strangely. I guess the disciple must have managed to sway him over to his side.
Who is this foreign god disciple?
He's a young man who always wears some sort of Japanese outfit. He calls himself a monk, but he's clearly a failed onmyoji.
An onmyoji, you say?
He's very handsome, but he's also thoroughly twisted and just rotten to the core. Definitely not my type. If I'd approached him, the odds were better than even that one of us would have ended up dead. And we couldn't have that, right? Seeing how we're both technically on the foreign god's side and all. So I always made sure to keep my distance from him. I never even got the chance to find out his true name. At least we know he isn't Koyanskaya, and it sounds like he's not Father Kotomine Rasputin, either. Oh, I am fond of Koyanskaya. She may be evil, but she's a pure sort of evil. You know how she can cross between lost belts as she pleases, right? So I see her every now and then. But I haven't gotten a read on her. It's like she doesn't respect the foreign god despite being an alter ego. But anyway, Koyanskaya doesn't have anything to do with Arjuna. Basically, thanks to the other alter ego, the male disciple, Arjuna started taking a much heavier hand to his world than he ever had before. After that, it sounds like they needed more pawns for running errands and such. So he went and took my contract with Asfataman, all because he just happened to be close by. And just like that, Asfataman was his, and there was nothing I could do. A lot of good being a crypter did me, right? At that point, all I could do was laugh at how absurd it all was. What? He just took your contract from you? Thinking back on it now, I shouldn't be surprised, considering just how powerful a god he is. I just didn't really get how powerful until he was using that power on me. Then, to top all that off, he went and summoned a few more servants all on his own. I don't know if he figured out how by studying Ashwataman, or if the disciple told him, but I guess it doesn't matter. The point is, once he had more servants on his side, I knew I had zero chance of taking Ashwataman back. I got the impression that Ashwataman used to be your servant based on our earlier conversation. What I really want to know is, what happened after that? After that? I ran away as fast as my legs could carry me, of course. I didn't want to die for nothing, after all. That's really all it comes down to with me. But don't you cryptors have a duty to grow your lost belts? Isn't that how you're supposed to determine which one is truly worthy to rule? Well, sure, but with this India, or rather, with Arjuna here, that's just not going to happen. Honestly, I knew it was pointless almost as soon as I got here. Easy to see this world as a dead end, and nothing I can do about that. So I gave up on my responsibilities to grow this world's tree of emptiness. I mean, who cares who the king of the world is if you're not alive to see it? Krishtaria's probably already figured out that my lost belt's a lost cause. In David's case, I'm not sure. I wish he would show at least a little interest in it, but oh well. Oh, that reminds me. I heard you had run-ins with Kadok, Ophelia, and Akuta. Well, if you're not going to make this personal, I won't either. Besides, I can't go around avenging my comrades or talking about Cryptor's pride with things as they are right now, can I? So you're refusing to comment on the Cryptors, is that it? And as long as we don't bring up the Cryptors ourselves, you won't oppose us as one. Is that what you're saying? Take it however you like. But just knowing that Cursor spared Kadok and buried Ophelia, well, that's more than enough reason for me to want to avoid fighting him if I can. I notice you didn't mention Akuta Hinako there. What about her? Oh, Akuta's a special case. I mean, she wasn't even human, right? She was never on anyone's side but her own to begin with, so I don't see any reason to avenge her. You knew Akuta Hinako was a true ancestor? Akuta did a good job keeping her cards close to her chest, but I've always had a good nose for that sort of thing. I knew the instant I arrived at Chaldea that she wasn't actually human. What did you mean when you said this world is a dead end? Oh yes, that's the last thing I need to tell you about. Arjuna uses his power to destroy and recreate the world over and over, cycling it through periods called Yugas. I'll spare you the details for now, but while they're similar in some ways to India's original conception of Yugas, they ultimately diverge pretty wildly. We have a couple of problems. First, he's gradually going through the Yugas faster and faster. Then there's one of the things he does as he completes each cycle.
Something he does when he remakes heaven and earth in between Yuga cycles, We have already been informed about something along those lines, namely the judgment Asha told us about. I can infer what that judgment entails thanks to her telling us it involves everyone dying and coming back to life. So eventually they're gonna run out of people. But of course, now is not the time for speculation.
Aw, why not? I'd love to get to see you speculating in person, Holmes.
Hard as it may be to believe coming from me, I have no intention of interrupting someone else's explanation of a thorny riddle with my own half-baked theories.
Well, if you already know that much, it would probably be faster to see it for yourselves then, anyway. Hi! It's me, Da Vinci, the beautiful genius who's been forced to keep her mouth shut and listen despite just itching to jump into all this fascinating discussion. Our reality space observation results have finally stabilized, so we can emerge from our zero sail now. The longer we stay submerged, the more chance we have of something going wrong, so while I hate to cut Pepperoncino's explanation off, I really think we should head back to reality space now, especially for our own. What do you say, Gordy?
Alright then, go ahead. But I want our security to remain airtight, and make damn sure we resurface inside the Lost Belt. Got it?
Got it! Will it be safe for us to go back outside after we emerge?
Oh, sure. The rules about the Yuga cycle are 100% absolute, so I can promise you Archana won't try anything now that we've just started a new one. Though when it comes to other dangers, I can't make any guarantees. I mean, I just don't know, you know? We can't let the mere possibility of danger hold us back. We may not be able to do anything about that cataclysm yet, but we'll just have to assume we'll be able to handle any other threats we run into. Naja and Karna may be gone now, but you still have Mash, myself, and Ganesha, the Divine Spirit.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are you alright?
Sorry for being so down in the dumps. I'm okay now, I promise. I know I still have my Ganesha duties to fulfill. And besides, did you hear what Karna said? He asked me to take care of you for him. Can you believe that? A super great hero like Karna asking a loser like me for help? How does that work? Still, I don't think he'd have said that if he hadn't needed my help. So, that must mean he thought I was up to it. That he trusted me as a fellow servant. So I figure I may be a loser, but I can still do my losery best. If Karna's gonna put his trust in me, I might as well see if he saw something I didn't. Just don't expect me to be much help.
Okay, I won't. Glad to have you with us.
I'll come along and help too, of course. Besides, it's easier to explain things when you're seeing them in person. Is that all right with you, Cursor and Mash? Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pepe.
Hold it! What do you think you're doing, Pepperoncino? Have you forgotten you're our prisoner?
Huh?
But the boarder won't be leaving this Lost Belt until Cursor finishes what he came here to do, right? So how could I possibly get away on my own? Besides, helping all of you is the surest way to help me survive, too. Not to mention that Mashy just looks so adorable after all this time, that I can't help but want to support her anyway, you know?
I see. Thank you?
Of course, if you insist on keeping me in here, well, I can't blame you for that, but are you sure it's a good idea? A good idea? Don't be preposterous. Of course I'm sure it's... No, wait, hang on. What if... Oh my, he's gone so pale. Scared of keeping an unknown element like me here in the heart of their operations. God, he's so easy to read. I could have Holmes and Captain restrain him, but what if he's planted a bomb inside his body? There's something frightening about him that reminds me of a mercenary. He may have said he only wants to survive, but he's obviously not the least bit frightened about dying. I could easily see him blowing himself up and taking us all out with him, so then the safest option would be... Alright, I suppose it would be the humane thing to do. Very well then, just this once, I'll grant you special permission to accompany Cursor. But be warned, this permission is contingent on you obeying every order we give you, without question. Refuse, and I won't hesitate to take whatever measures I deem necessary. Is that clear?
Okay, that's fair. If I die, I die. Works for me. Okay then, let's get going. Shadow border preparing to emerge. Everyone hold on tight. As soon as we're safely back to reality space, let's go see what this newly remade world is like.
Well, it doesn't look like the map's changed at all. So that's good. Alright. Dropping my phone.
I experienced the Kali Yuga ending several times after Asvataman was taken from me. I felt the light of creation wrapping me in a tight embrace, just as powerless to do anything as the people absorbed in their worthless prayers. As long as the god of this world doesn't consider you defective, at least there's no pain, you don't feel it. The light just keeps getting brighter, blinding you and even numbing you to the passage of time. The next thing you know, you're right back where you started, only everything around you's been changed. I don't know what the locals make of that experience, but it was awful enough to almost make me vomit. I'd rather stick my head inside a festering dead body, or kiss a pile of excrement from a prison cell without plumbing. Those options might be revolting, but at least I wouldn't have to be so frightened. So while I hate to admit it, when that light finally subsided and I found myself standing there, I would be relieved that I had avoided being taken away. But it was never long after that my relief turned to worry, to the point that I could barely think straight. Maybe I just got lucky this time. What about the next time? Or the time after that? So in retrospect, it was inevitable that I would take an action like this sooner or later. This time, I managed to avoid the light by escaping to the reverse side of the world, so I thought I might feel differently now. But, surprisingly, nothing changed. Upon laying eyes on the new world of this cycle, I felt the same things as always: loathing and discomfort. To use more contemporary slang, I just can't even with this world. I guess its god bothers me even more than I expected. In many ways, it's a perfect world. And yet, it's also just unbearable.
Where are we now?
The air smells sweet, there's water and flowers everywhere you look, and there's a calm and gentle breeze. What is this place? Want to know what the most surprising part is? You're standing in almost the same spot that we zero-sailed from. Our location didn't change. The entire rest of this world did.
Thankfully, there are no hostiles in the immediate area. Let's begin by paying another visit to the town of Bichu.
Is something wrong, Pepe? You look kind of angry.
What's that? You're jealous of how soft and smooth my skin is? Why, it's all in the upkeep, hon. Unlike Miss Never-Changing Akuta, I actually have to work to make sure I look this good. Go on, feel how supple my cheeks are for yourself. They're my pride and joy, you know.
That's okay.
Oh, silly, there's no need to be shy. But anywho, going to visit that town next sounds just dandy. The topography and plant life changes that come with a new Yuga are all just surface-level details. The thing that changed the most after what Arjuna did will have been the people. Okay, let's go check out the town. Understood. But make sure to keep the border's location in mind at all times from now on, Cursor. I don't want us to ever have to run for our lives like that again if we can help it. What in the...
Wow! There's not a single brick out of place now! In fact, this is exactly what the town looked like when I first came to this world! I can't believe it. It's like the Kali never attacked it at all. What in the world is going on? Then there's the people going about their lives here. They all look happy now. They're practically beaming.
Great. Look who it is. Goodness, you're all okay. This is wonderful news. Just wonderful. This truly must be the gods' will. All is right with the world once again. Oh no, that isn't quite right, is it? First, I owe you all an apology. No matter how dire the circumstances were at the time, I should never have spoken to you like that. I know it won't be enough to truly make amends, but I'll be including all of you in my prayers from now on. I only ask that you please not hold what I said against the people of this lovely town.
What? Yesterday he wanted to run us out of town, and now he's all happy to see us?
He really is sorry. He's not just saying it. Didn't you say we were godless heretics you wanted nothing to do with? Don't be ridiculous. The fact that you're here now is proof you overcame the last Yuga's difficulties with us. That makes you all one of us now. You're our friends, our family. And not only that, today is the blessed first day of Krta Yuga, the Yuga of Peace. Are you hungry? If you like, you're welcome to come and eat with me at my mansion. Or would you prefer some fine ornaments for the young ladies? We also have plenty of beautiful flowers.
That's very kind of you, but we're okay. Yes, I'm afraid we have some pressing business we need to take care of. I appreciate the offer, but we really should be on our way.
I see. Well, that's a pity. I was hoping to introduce you to the rest of the townspeople. Oh, by the way, that mansion over there is my house. I'm afraid it ended up that big on account of my being the mayor. It's very embarrassing living somewhere as ostentatious as that, but it is not without meaning. Please feel free to come visit whenever you have the time. You'll always be welcome in my home. Good day, then.
What the heck? I've never seen someone go from jerkwad to sweetheart in no time flat like that. He seemed elated.
It's probably because Krta Yuga's the Yuga of happiness. Tends to make most of the locals friendly and kind-hearted. Though, of course, I'm sure there are exceptions. Tch, you guys again.
Oh, Master, it's Ajay! He doesn't seem any different now than he did before. I'm not judging either way. I'm just surprised how simply hearing him click his tongue again has made me feel so relieved. And then there's... It's you guys! This is such a surprise! So you made it to the new Yuga, huh? That's great! Yes, it wasn't easy, but we did make it. I'm glad to see you're okay too, Asha. I sure am! I prayed extra hard, so I didn't get hurt at all. I see. That's wonderful. Oh, but speaking of hurt, is your dog, Vihan, okay? He hurt his leg before the Kali Yuga, right? I don't see him with you. Oh no. Huh? Who's Vihan?
No! Arjuna, why did you kill the dog? Why?
I guess because he was hurt. This one's a little short, but it's very late and my throat kind of hurts. So I'm gonna end this video here, and I'll see you all next time.